All right, guys, how's it going? This is Kyle here at Active Management, ready to give you guys a rundown on what's to come for the week ahead, what has happened last week, and what do we do to expect for the rest of October. Very important month, as we're just starting to climb slowly out of the most volatile months of the year, August and September. October is supposed to be the month of the turnaround. So we have these next 4 weeks out ahead of us as we're going to pay attention to what's going on, what has happened, and what is due to occur by or before the end of the month. Okay, there's some quite a bit of fundamental things. We have this debt ceiling that got pushed back to October. We have inflation concerns. We have COVID still. There's a whole slew of things. A bunch of things has happened last week with Facebook outage. Um, some very interesting things have been shaping the markets lately. And we're going to talk a bit about that today. So let's go ahead and get started with the non-farm payrolls, the employment situation. All right, the news release presents statistics from two monthly surveys. The unemployment rate fell 0.4% to 4.8% in September. The number of unemployment persons fell by 710,000 to 7.7 million. Both measures are down considerably from the highs at the end of February and April 2020's recession. However, they remain above the levels prior to the coronavirus, right, of 3.5% at 5.7 million respectively. Now, they also described that the employment numbers rose 194,000 as they were expected to rise more near 400 to 500,000. So actually, the consensus missed by quite a wide sum. Okay, by quite a wide sum. All right, this was quite a bit concerning for investors as they pulled back in their positions on Friday of this week. We end up closing the week. I think we end up closing the week up slightly, a 0.5% or so. But Friday's volatility was kind of reminding us that we're not out of the water yet, right? And the recovery of the economy isn't quite what we thought it would be like, right? Some other things weighing in on the employment figures as well, in my opinion, which will be these state mandates, right? These state mandates. So let's go ahead and we're going to talk a bit about the state of mandates. All right. So we got states that mandate healthcare workers vaccinated or vaccination or termination, quote unquote. Now, these states would be Colorado, Maine, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Washington. Right? I think LA is also now in this category here where they were terminating workers that were not vaccinated. States that mandate for healthcare workers vaccination or testing. Okay. California, definitely one. I think California actually just moved up into this list. District of Columbia, Delaware, Kentucky, Massachusetts, Mississippi, Nevada, New Jersey, North Carolina, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Vermont, and Wisconsin. States that mandate for healthcare workers vaccination, testing, or masking. Connecticut, Illinois, and Maryland. 9 states that have banned vaccine mandates for employees. Arizona, Arkansas, Georgia, Indiana, Montana, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Tennessee, and Utah. All right, very, very important. All right, not many states are participating in this. Even Florida, we don't have any of those kinds of mandates, but a lot of these states do. So that's something to pay attention to while traveling, as well. That may put a bit change of path on your traveling. So that was a good update there. All right, market environment, guys. Market environment. All right. In the market environment of last week, like I mentioned, markets sold off last week on non-farm payrolls on Friday. Right? It was a big miss. It was a big miss, and this follow through in this miss could continue this week, guys, and we could maybe even potentially strike a new low. We're gonna have a look at here the S&P 500 chart, which is the same chart that we've been reviewing for some time. Big technical break when I put out that bear article about a week or so ago. I put out a bear article that basically described this was that this was coming. Here it is, September 19th, right? This bear article, annual ghost months, September and August. So this article is definitely proved relevant, and the market sold off as the trend broke. Now, this doesn't mean that we're going to go into a potential continuation and continue selling, selling, selling. I think we'll eventually have a pit stop, but we're going to be a little bit sideways. It's those volatile times of the month, but this overall trend did break. That's a big technical break there. That is something that we have to take note of, and we would have to watch the equities performance from then on out. All right. Technology, similar look. Okay, nothing has quite changed, but we will look for new lows below 1450. I mean, 14,500 in the big tech giant, and 4,000 or 4,300 in the S&P 500. Okay, all right. If we get new lows, more clearing out, stocks will go lower. We could buy cheaper, right? If we don't create any new lows from here, likely markets will trade sideways for a little bit before we have a reason to create a new trend. They pushed the debt ceiling back to December. Something to pay attention to. That means this problem that we're having with the debt ceiling is due to come back around before the end of the year. That's important. Markets could trade higher because we kind of relieve some of this stress for the time being. But it could potentially create a bigger downside move later on in December if not handled properly. All right, very good, very good. Earnings season. Oh yes, 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 yes. It's that time again, guys. It's that time again. Earnings are back. We got the big schedule up here on the board for the entire month. Why not? This week we'll be kicking off on Tuesday. Monday is a holiday, guys. It's Columbus Day. So for Tuesday, we do have Fastenal, right, which is a hardware supply store, right, and then the bank stocks, right, as it's the financials due to report their confessionals this week. JP Morgan at the forefront of that, and BlackRock. Delta due to report. Taiwan Semiconductors due to report on Thursday. Citigroup, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, PNC Bank, Goldman Sachs, Charles Schwab, and JB Hunt all due to report by the end of this week as well. Some of the ones that I do want to pay attention to the most, I do want to record their performance for this earnings for the third quarter. I do want to watch JP Morgan, Taiwan Semiconductors, and Goldman Sachs. Definitely, and Citigroup. All right, so my banks, these are the banks that I enjoy trading the most, and banks I enjoy investing in the most, especially JP Morgan. All right, they are very active researchers and investors in crypto, in the crypto market. All right, Citigroup and Goldman Sachs. Taiwan Semiconductor is an important one on my list because it is one of the most important semiconductors to pay attention to, as they do supply chips for Apple. Okay, so if they start talking about supply shortages and things in Taiwan Semiconductors, we can expect to hear some supply constraints, concerns coming out of the companies they supply, like Apple. Okay, very good. And then the weeks following on, Netflix next week, Snapchat next week, even Chipotle due to report next week. We got Facebook the week after that, Twitter, Alphabet on that same week, with Ford and Apple. Right, it's going to be important. Apple is going to be a really important one. Facebook, very important. We had a big Facebook outage last week. Big Facebook outage last week. That was something we've haven't quite seen in some time. Literally about a whole day out on that one. All right, so something to pay attention to. So earnings, it's going to be a very busy month with a lot of supply constraint concerns going on lately. We will likely hear a lot of this from the companies that are due to report. Okay, there are ships out in California that can't seem to dock. can't seem to get unloaded. This is going to be an ongoing problem. It looks like going into the fourth quarter. All right, so we'll be paying attention to how some of these companies handle these supply constraints. Very good. ARK Invest. All right, Cathie Wood moves ARK Invest to Florida. All right, so I ended up finding out specifically that ARK Invest is going to St. Petersburg, so that's Tampa. All right, that's very interesting. Very small, growing, thriving city over there. I was just there not too long ago, and it's very interesting to see. Very interesting that they decided Tampa instead of Miami, but she's always looking for growth, Cathie Wood. And when you step back and have a look at Tampa as a city and its growth trajectory right now, actually Tampa is a mighty fine place to grow a nice fund, a nice busy city as well. Um, Maybe not the most tidiest city as of yet, but maybe it could be, right? Maybe a lot of things have changed and a lot more people will be moving to Tampa. Something to keep up with. All right, that'd be pretty neat. And Musk has decided to move Tesla to Texas. Musk is absolutely finished with California. California, once they did all these mandates and such, it made things quite weary for some of the mega producers in California, and making this decision to move to Texas will likely be for the benefit of the employees, most certainly, definitely. And then the big Facebook outage. Facebook was out last week. I think it was like Tuesday or Wednesday. They were down for the entire day as a whistleblower came out and spoke about the underground business practices of Facebook and took the stand and denounced some of the business practices that Facebook commits to. I mean, they made comments like Facebook will spend more time in engineering ways to control thoughts rather than trying to handle and defend the security of citizens participating on their platform. They have more of an agendic approach towards things that are benefiting them rather than what they can do to help citizens. It's a very interesting approach. And a lot of investors, like my mentor, Keith Fitzgerald, said that they're not interested at all in investing in Facebook, right? They want Mark Zuckerberg out before they even consider something new. That is very interesting. It's a very interesting perspective. And for next week's pre-market report details here, equities review, which we ran through a bit of that. This week, fundamental releases, though, are quite detailed. Core inflation report year over year due to come out on Wednesday. That's heavy, guys. That's very, very heavy set of news there. As we know, inflation is definitely doing some damage. Inflation is definitely going up. We're seeing things inflated in our oil. We've seen used cars go up, even home goods, and even small things like poultry and pork bellies or pig and things like that. So bacon going up in price, etc. So you can't print several trillions of dollars without expecting something like this to occur. So is inflation transitory? And we're going to kick that question back to Powell on that one. All right. So Thursday jobless claims data due to release, and retail sales. Are people going out and still spending money the same way they were? We're going to get some update information on the retail sales here on Friday and jobless claims updates on Thursday. But the most important key release of fundamental data this week will be the core inflation reports and the FOMC press conference that follows. Okay. Remember, as the numbers come out at 8:30 in the morning on Wednesday, it is likely markets are not due to quite show what the move will be on the day until 2 p.m. When the FOMC press conference release happens and they have this discussion, and then markets usually tend to pick a direction following that. Okay, very good. All right. Also, October should be the last month of volatility, give or take. All right, following it's likely to see a new trend develop, right, depending on how things set in fundamental, whether or not we are to create a clean trend higher to end the year. Okay, there's some important fundamental things that are taking place right now that can kind of pull and tug on how clean we will make new highs and or the market move forward. But we're dealing with rising pressures in different places like supply constraints, COVID, right, and inflation. A lot of these things are ticking bond yields, causing pressure on stocks and such. And this mechanical movement back and forth kind of makes the markets quite more difficult to deal with. If you're having struggles in trading options in this environment, maybe you want to consider buying equity and or buying shares in companies that you do like, buying small amounts and being able to wait out the volatility. But these are the top headlines heading into the end of the month. We will continue to watch for the market signs of bottoming and begin trading sideways, as these will be key fundamental or technical signal for when we plan to be more active trading. Okay, we continue to buy shares, right? Buying options certainly far dated out, minimum of 90 days. All right, as we get ready to clear out the turbulent waters to end the volatility months of the year, right? Some of the top things that moved this week that I thought were very interesting as well was mRNA finally capitulates all the way back down to $300, right? There's a couple of things that was developing around mRNA that a lot of countries in Europe were banning the vaccine, right? Like they did Johnson and Johnson earlier last year. And something about mRNA came out with a pill, and the pill was not too successful. Right? It's having quite some turbulent research in it. Right? Oil prices have moved higher. We're seeing that at the gas pump. Gas is definitely going up. Right? And then my top choice in the semiconductor sector is still AMD. Now I do own some NVIDIA as well, right? But AMD, definitely. AMD. All right. I also dropped an AMD price chart plan in there for you. You're able to check out my idea on how to trade AMD for the last 3 months of the year. Calls or equity. Should be good. Should be good. So this basically rounds up today's pre-market discussion along with last week's review. If anybody has any questions, concerns, or ideas regarding markets and they want to sit down and have a chat, definitely reach out to me. You can find me on Petron as well, Petron/active management, right? Spelled like so. Petreon /HCTIVMGMT, right? And very good. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on TradingView at Tilting Kai, and on Instagram at Tilting Kai, and on Twitter as well under Active Management at Tilting Kai, right? So very good, guys. I hope everybody has a good weekend and enjoys the holiday, and I will catch up with you on Tuesday. Good night.